Hello, this is J.N.S, and we are doing a pretty impromptu video of some things that's on my mind. I want to discuss some policies um, based on my intentions to run for president in 2032. So I'm just in that moment. It's just a vibe. And so I really got to get off my chest. I got a mouthful, and it's just one of them days. And so I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. But yes, I want to discuss some policies that I intend to implement in 2032. And the reason why, 2024, it's going to be a bust. I'm not even going to hold you. Like a lot of you guys are saying yourself that it doesn't even feel like a real election. It doesn't feel real. And when you think about it, we haven't really dived into policies that will benefit the American people for 2024. We know about this deportation stuff, and whatnot, but all we see when it comes to this election is the courts. The situation with Trump in the courts, situation with Biden and his son and all this stuff. We're not really getting to the nitty gritty of the direction for the future of America. And so I argue that, 2024 will be a placeholder presidency. Placeholder meaning that we're setting the stage up for a transitional period for a new golden age of America come 2028, 2032. And so it's a transitional stage. This is much deeper because on the esoteric level, we know that we're going from a 3D to 5D to 7D shift. And it's as simple as that. And so that requires the shift in the governance as well. The shift in the governments worldwide, globally, the direction, the people at the top, whether that be the shadow side of it or the puppet. I won't say puppet, but the ones that are out in the front, the ones that you can see. And so I want to talk about that. The transitional period that we're in, my policies. We're going to get very deep. I am going to refrain from using excessive, curse words. Usually, I talk my stuff. So, but in this video, you won't really get that. Maybe something here or there. And we'll get a little esoteric. And again, a part of this transitional phase from 2024 to 2028 is preparing the American people's consciousness to handle some heavy level context that they are missing about the state of the world, the state of the universe, how things work, how the elections work, how government work. They have to understand the esoteric levels behind that. And so that's what 2024 to 2028 is going to be. There are orders from even whoever wins, whether that be Trump or Biden, which is most likely going to be Trump. They have to work on that preparation period in terms of getting the Americans to see behind the veil, because we are shifting this planet from 3D to 5D. And many of you are going to be shifted to 7D as far as where we're running this government from out in the open. Come 2028 to 2032, we're literally going to be running it from 20D just right in the open. As far as the president, as far as by 2032, I would say, by 2028, I would say 70 would be fair in terms of understanding and relating to the American people. So when I run, it's going to be from the level of governance at the 7D level to a 5D level. And again, this is spiritual, but America has to get in tune with her spiritual side, their esoteric side, and truths have to be known. People have to be caught up. The veil has to be lifted. You guys talk about 2024 is the year of exposure. It definitely is. It's a lot coming out, right? But to be honest, it ain't really hitting enough. It ain't going far enough, if you ask me, because people want to cover for things and people are scared and people are, you want to slowly get people in, but then we're also fighting a spiritual war, a bloodline war, a political war. It's a lot going on. And so, people are trying to run for cover or hide evidence or whatever, but we want truth to come out, good truth, and even the ugly truth of things that have been going on in our government. And so 2024, this presidency, to be honest, it is, I won't say horse and pony, but if Trump wins, then it will be wise for him to consider that this is a transitional phase of America to a golden age, and from the shift to 3 to 5D to 7D. That's what he should go in knowing if he wins. And he should be working on certain policies around, you know, the Americans to prepare them for that. Obviously, Space Force, obviously, some things with sustainable renewable energy, redress issues, things that benefit the needs of Americans. And so we're going to talk about all of that. Okay. But right now, I would say, like, even though I'm really early on this, my ideas for what I would like to see in this country are way too advanced, and it's I see it coming, but I'm just a little too early. So I didn't feel comfortable running for 2024. Plus, I'm just preparing. I have to get myself together. I got to study this more. I got to study all of this. You know what I mean? I got to study this system. I have a good grasp on it, on the esoteric and the conscious level. I can see behind the veil. I know how the shadow works. You know, and that's another thing that the American people are going to be learning about from 2024 to 2028. Many of you already know. There are millions of Americans that know that there is a shadow government, or what Trump will even call the deep state. You guys know that. But the average person that's still thinking of two parties and, people that's really just caught in this matrix, they have to be, they're going to know, because there is going to be no more shadow. It's going to be out in the open in terms of certain bloodlines being out in the open, ancient ones. It just is what it is. And this is global. This will be globally. Okay, in every government, but I'm talking about for the United States of America. There's not going to be any shadow government anymore, just so you know. It's going to be out very much so in the open, because there's going to be major changes. There is going to no longer be the corruption that we secretly currently know about, or a lot of you openly know about. All that's being changed out now, from the players all the way to the top of the top, all the way to the global elite bloodlines. It's all quote unquote elite bloodlines. It's all being rearranged as we speak right now. It's been going on since August 2022. The portals was open on April 8th. Yes, that is true. But in terms of the entities that came in when they was messing with the CERN, let's talk about it. Y'all want to go deep? You guys know about the CERN machine, and pretty much they were messing with that in August of 2022. And what happened, and again, this is what we're talking about, why bringing the shadow out to the open. My last two books pretty much will catch you up on all of this. The book of the Night Queen Mothership Part 3, as well as the Night Queen Mothership Order, Alternative Freemasonry. Those two books will catch you up on this order that I'm talking about, in terms of the machinations of this quote unquote shadow government, how it came to be and whatnot, and what went wrong and how it all started. Now, we're not talking about the governance level of the shadow government in America per se. We're talking about how interdimensionally certain beings, certain bloodlines have been able to be behind the scenes. This is I'm keeping it as low key as possible. I'm not trying to go all out into an esoteric quantum entanglement. I'm trying to keep it real, where you guys can follow me at ease, where you can understand. I'm trying my best here. But in terms of like the CERN machine being turned on, it's a powerful particle accelerator. It started in September 2008. But to be honest, it is a portal opener. Okay, so particles are fired in a clockwise direction, in that accelerator to mimic space, to try to see if we recreate a big bang, can we open a portal. It was experimentation. It's really for portals, but they tell the public that they're using it for other reasons. And when you look at the CERN, uh, center, the let's actually look at a picture so you could see for yourself. I want to at least see the building, the front CERN front of the building. Let's see. I'll show you a picture of it. So this is the CERN machine. What's in front of it? Shiva, Lord Shiva, one of the primordial ancients. And so a part of the, when we talk about a shadow global governance that is based on bloodline, that is based on interdimensionality, obviously they're the ones behind this CERN. And as you can see, clear as day, they have Shiva on there, one of the primordial beings that they honor. Now, Shiva is a destroyer, and it's a destroyer of a certain cadence. It's not like how you would think, but we're not really going to get into that because it's not important. But the point is, you have to understand, for them to even put this as a CERN machine or whatever in front of the largest physics building, we're talking about science meets spirituality. Shiva opens portals and destroys portals. It's a primordial ancient being. And so in August 2022, they were hoping to bring that energy in. And I'll get to how this matters in terms of like me talking about my presidency. I promise there's a relation. We're talking about it, bringing a shadow government to the forefront and how it works and how it's ran and what's behind it, how those families were born, how it relates to the humans, how it relates to America. And we won't get, again, we'll go slowly. I'm not covering that in this video. I have books on it, the last 2 books that I wrote. But pretty much August 2022, the energy on this planet made a major change. It really did, because they turned that portal on, and there were certain entities and beings that they wanted to come through that came through for their agenda, but those primordial energies had their own agenda, or there was severe misinformation spread about them, and spread about the nature about these primordial energies to the whole world, except for those that are initiates and for those that are at the top of the top, at least 33 degrees in masonry. I'm not promoting masonry. I'm actually I actually came up with a new order to replace it that requires pretty much nothing that they require. And it's about enlightenment and truth and love for humanity, bringing a certain set of consciousness on planet Earth. And so I'm not trying to promote masonry, but we all know that there's some connection, clearly, to the government, the founders of the government, the founders of America. Come on, I mean, it is what it is. But nonetheless, you would have to have a deep understanding at a higher level. It wouldn't be someone that is like at a lower degree to even understand this, let alone the people that are outside of it that don't know, what any of this is or where it comes from. But it comes from a Hindu pantheon in the East, which is a 6,000-year-old religion. It's one of the oldest religions. And so, they know that he has dealings with opening portals, closing portals, destroying universe, creating universes. So it's a very primal energy. It's a primal energy that predates most other religions, including Abrahamic. Doesn't mean that I'm leaning credence to any one religion. I am not a proponent of organized religion. I don't promote gods or what you should believe or what you should think, how you should think. That's not the point. I'm just giving you the context. And so there was a major shift at the top. There was a major shift at the top once that portal was open. And so certain beings were able to come through and shift the energy of the planet. And again, as far as the people that were behind that, they had one agenda, but then that energy had another agenda. And so what you see now is the machinations of a system that is dying, that is falling out, in terms of globalization and unbridled capitalism, things that are actually detrimental to the planet and to humans, you're seeing all around you the remnants of a collapse. You're seeing things fall, and that's pretty much where we're at. Um, and we're kind of, in the beginning stages. Depend on how like aware you are, you could see really behind the veil. And then for those that may just think it's business as usual, they may see like, okay, they may feel something not right, but or something's different, something has changed. But yes, the planet has changed. We just had the eclipse. It's a lot going on, and so we are pushing this planet to a higher dimension. And by we, I'm talking about us of those primordial bloodlines, us chosen ones, those of us that are ready to see humanity rise to their potential, ascend pretty much. And we also want to see change for the better for this country. And so that's where you see us come in. Okay. And right now, like, again, people were saying it doesn't really feel like a real election. This feels like a movie script. This feels not real. Well, that's because you can see that this whole thing has been an illusion. The world is a stage, and so certain narratives are falling, certain scripts are falling. People are not falling for certain propaganda anymore. People don't even really have trust in the government. People feel disillusioned by the government, and we all want different pages because the government wants more, control, whether that be social credit score, digital IDs, more surveillance with AI robots and stuff. They want to go one direction, more metaverse. And then the people, we are on a whole nother, in a whole nother vibe, a whole nother resonance. We're thinking, how do we get more freedom? How do we get more time for ourselves? How do we uh, get more work-life balance? How do we have a life where we don't have to take a vacation from? How do we create that? And so our government is not really concerned with that. They're more concerned with control, while we are more concerned with moving into a holistic way of living that is in tune with this environment. And so, we got certain candidates. We got Trump right now in 2024 and Biden, Cornel West, Jill Stein, Deion Jenkins, and we got some it's probably more candidates that I'm not naming, so I apologize. But it's just a mess. Like, we not really hearing nothing that really get the job done for us, including obviously Black Americans. Like, we're not hearing nothing that is perking our ears besides deportation. So it's a lot of people that's excited about the deportation of immigrants. It's a lot of Americans are becoming disenchanted with Americans' policy on immigration, and so they are happy that one of Trump's policies is to do the largest deportation ever. And my question, and obviously that I'm indifferent to that. I think that would be a good thing. However, it's like, for the American people, what's next after that? It's like, that's not really a policy. While it benefits you, it's like, once you see them get on that plane, to go back wherever they going, it's like, what are the next transitional policies? Like, what else are we going to be advocating for? And so, I'm just a little disenchanted, with what we've been seeing with this election cycle. It's uncanny, but at the same time, a lot of us, we were talking about a third party and talking about how do we run and all that stuff, but we didn't really have, like, I won't say the organization, but we really didn't have the momentum in terms of really, like, collating how do we create a third party and all this stuff, and or join another party that's already existing, like the Libertarian Party or the Green Party. Like, we really for what I would say as Black Americans, we really didn't discuss a lot of that. Maybe we should have. Maybe the conversations that we've been having like since 2021, maybe we should have been planning about those things back then, but we didn't as a Black American community. And so Black Americans, we're disillusioned with both Trump and Biden, though I'm personally going more towards Trump. Um, you know, we're a lot of you are saying like, I'm not keeping for neither one of them. I don't care about one of them. They don't care about us. And so you guys were wondering like, well, why didn't we just start our own party? And I'm thinking like that's something maybe we should have been working on in addition to when we were all on, the internet talking in 2020 and 2021, talking about immigration and talking about reparations. I think that that's something we should have been discussing at that moments and initiatives. They need a couple of years. It's like it's not something we could pull together right now. We can't start no third party right now. We need a couple of years. And so what I would encourage Black Americans, if that's still something that y'all thinking of, if y'all doing that for 2028 or 2032, you want to start galvanizing that now as far as the part, how you set it up, the party's name, what's the interest, what's the interest points. I remember they were talking about doing the Black Party or something like that. That was supposed to be a third party, but it was really under the DNC. It wasn't like an actual third party. Or they were going to funnel Black Americans into the Black Party, but that was under the DNC, and so that kind of it didn't really go anywhere. And so that's something that y'all guys are going to think about, or you can prepare a grassroots candidate for one of the two major parties, which would be the most ideal situation. But nonetheless, we need to talk about like what are some policies that could benefit uh, Americans and what could benefit Black Americans. Like we need to have a understanding of what those things look like on a holistic level, but also keeping in mind the very departments that govern the nation and how smooth should we transition to certain policies without major disruptions. Because again, it's a frequency change. It's a frequency change. Everybody can feel it. And that with that comes a lot of preparation. With that comes a lot of action, different action than what we've been doing. Than what it's real. They talking about pardoning Julian Assange. Isn't that something? They're also talking in some aspects. They're also talking about a digital ID and Neuralink and sentient, emotional, and AI. It's a lot going on, and those things require policy. They require a whole new building out of American culture. We talk about like the different generations, the silent generation. Was it baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z? And so I'm thinking about those things. Like I'm thinking about like, well, what will actually propel us as like a golden age, like into as we're entering the age of Aquarius, as we're entering the age of the divine feminine. What's actually going to push us into that direction? And so that's what I'm excited to talk about. I also want to talk about, um, very specific things that I want to work on, with like certain policies I want to bring. And so let's start. So the first one, I think we should do a pilot program for a UBI, which is a universal basic income. A pilot program called Step Up. Now with this pilot program, it should be, I would say, for like 2 years. It's a step up program for Americans, because guess what? We're not going to have the things that the previous generations had. We're not going to have Social Security. We're not going to have these cushions. Like, even, I mean, we can if we work these things out now, but as it's looking, we're not going to have that. And another thing, it's been harder than what the baby boomers had, like for Generation Y and Generation Z. Like Generation Y is having a harder time finding, procuring home ownership. They're having larger student loans. We're having, more concerns with work-life balance, particularly our home life, our emotional health. There's just different things that we are concerned with as millennials versus, the baby boomers. They see us as lazy. I was actually doing some research on this. I was doing some research on this recently, where we are looked at as more feckless and you don't want to work like how they worked. You know, and it's more so at the signs at a time because, for one, them a lot of those jobs, they don't exist, as they once did. Like the work is not there. The work, we're underemployed most of the time. um there's a lot of stress on these jobs. A lot of the work is contract work. It's a lot going on, and so it's not even, we're not really incentivized to want to look forward to work as millennials. And then a lot of us are questioning the whole nature of the matrix itself. Should Americans be working 40 years, 60 years for a corporation that they don't own? Maybe they got a 401k, but then they retire at what, in their 60s, 65, and take out Social Security. Like, we're thinking about, like, is that something that, you know, we glamorize, taking out a 30-year mortgage and all this stuff? It's just something that we're disillusioned with. And then we may not even get that Social Security when, by the time we get to that age. And so, you know, I think to make the load easier in terms of like procuring a step up in terms of home ownership, and or setting up for a retirement such as a Roth IRA, or a traditional IRA, or even a mutual fund, or certain investment in certain indexes. um I think we should try a 2-year pilot program called a step up program, that is a UBI, for every American, for them to have a step up. Now, this will be in regards to home ownership, uh paying off student loan. What else? You could put it towards a house if you already have it, or you could put it towards your savings for them 2 years. It's a step up program. It's not a handout, but it's a step up, because millennials are having a very hard time getting into the housing market, very hard time with home ownership, a very hard time paying rent. I mean, rent is very expensive these days. $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 per month for rent for a lot of people. Student loans. And so we need to test out a 2-year pilot program, a UBI program for Americans. You have to be an American. You can't be no immigrant. You have to be an American for that step up. Again, and there's a list of the things we maybe a certain set of criteria in terms of maybe age, possibly. Um, it could be something that could be worked out where it's just all Americans, or it could be something where it's worked out where there's a certain age bracket of Americans, to give them that step up. It could be in the 20s, early 20s, maybe, you know, maybe right after college or before college. These are things that we need the public's opinion on, before even making a decision on that. I'm pretty sure Americans gonna say give it to everybody. But maybe the age, maybe doing it by a certain age will be, if we're talking about a step up in terms of meeting certain criteria, home ownership, retirement, as well as student loans or rent. Like, we could do it like that. Some type of, those are maybe the categories that you can spend the money in, or use the money for, and have it for a 2-year pilot program and see how it works. A UBI program. The amount, I'm thinking it should be $2,000 to $4,000 to start. For that step up. It's a step up program. It's no different than when we had the GI Bill. It was no different when Levittown was built with Roosevelt. It's no different at all. It's a step up based on what's going on with this economy. Our economy is not doing too good. Okay, it's been a lot going on, with the Federal Reserve and the interest rates. The market it can have a lot more work. There can be a lot more done. Inflation is through the roof. Okay. And so that's why it's important to give that step up, stimulate this economy, get people a chance to get a step up for, you know, their future. Whether they want to use that money on their rent, whether they want to use that money to pay off their student loan, whether they want to use that money for their retirement account, start a Roth IRA, certain types of investments. Maybe you can even use it for options investing, or investments that pay dividends. I'm trying to think, what is that? You know how they had it's a Roth IRA, and then it's like an investing account. Yeah, you could start an investing account with it too, probably. In addition to a Roth IRA, you can start an investing account. Maybe that's not the most recommended, because you could blow that account if you don't know how to trade. You know, if you're a professional trader, it might be wise to start an investing account. But you know, maybe a Roth IRA, or retire some sort of retirement account would be better for you. But that's the first one I really want to work on and develop, because it's going to be a lot. Also with AI disruption, this AI is going to disrupt a lot of jobs. And so, they talking about AI lawyers. They're talking about, obviously, AI teachers, AI police. They got AI robots that do the policing now. They got a self-driving car that may put Uber's drivers out. They delivery services. They already got AI robots that deliver packages and stuff. And so what's going to happen to a lot of these jobs? What's going to happen to American livelihood? What is the plan? Are we going to shift into a new dimension or a new portal or something, and it's just going to be some AIs here and the humans go somewhere else? Or what's going to happen to the humans? Obviously, I'm being facetious, but like, seriously, like I'm telling you, they talking about the AI robots. They talking about the AI healthcare. We see the robots that can perform surgery better than the humans' hands. We see it. And so we got to think about those things. And so that's why I think that UBI pilot program would be good, just to test it out, to see, okay, if we do this for 2 years for the American public, can we reassess? Is this something we should do long term? Is this something we should expand or contract? That's something that we should consider. And so that's the first one. The second one is lineage-based redress for Black American stratification, racial stratification, and a hate crime bill. Okay, and so this will be handled by our Department of Justice, and we're doing an exponential lineage-based injury based on the latent functions of slavery that affect America today in 2024. And so it's based on the actual disparities in real time in terms of the racial wealth gap, medical apartheid, education, taxes, all of those things. It's going to be on real time data. It's not. It calculates an exponential weighted average, and think of it like the technical indicator in the stock market, the EMAs, exponential moving averages. It calculates like that, where the emphasis is more on the effects today, but it still includes slavery. It includes Jim Crow. It's an exponential lineage injury based on what happened. Okay. And so it's rooted in data. It's rooted in hardcore quantifiable sciences that you can put in, say, some type of predictive analytic algorithm to actually get a actual number of what that payment would look like, and what that would look like, in addition to any agencies that will oversee certain set asides and certain apparatuses for Black Americans. Black American Bureau, we were talking about a Freedmen's Affairs Agency, all those things, a decentralized autonomous organization for Black Americans, to put, thinking about cryptocurrency and putting that on a blockchain in terms of redress. These are all things we could think about, something we can really carve out. Okay. And by that, I'm talking about the actual DAO aspect of the organizations that come out of the exponential lineage injury executive order. This is executive order. Okay. And it's an exponential moving average of the harms that were done to Black Americans, that obviously include the debt of slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, restrictive covenants, as well as uh, the mortgage crisis in 2008 and how Black Americans were affected, medical apartheid, and then any latent functions that occur right now as we're speaking, 2024 and beyond. If those numbers uh, restrict by 2032, 2028, then obviously the redress number will be affected because it's an exponential moving average based on an exponential lineage injury. And so that is the redress for Black Americans. Okay, it's an executive order, and then there's a hate crime bill. Okay, and so it's a lot that is in there. It's a redress. That's something we can talk about in more depth, and it's not an exhaustive list of the things that can be included in that redress. Okay, so you see that on your screen. That is something that it will it be similar to the UBI, but specific to anyone that is affected by lineage based exponential injury in real time based on the latent functions of slavery. That means that the way that it's affecting today has more weight on it, and it's quantifiable. You can put in a predictive analytics machine algorithm to quantify the number based on the data that's already published recently on the stratifications and the disparities today. We have that data. The numbers are already in existence, is what I'm saying. Okay, and that's an executive order. Now, Directive 3 is where putting a moratorium on immigration. I know I had made this on September 9th, 2023, as you can see. So I said it's a severe restriction. We'll see what Trump is doing in terms of the numbers, because it may not need to be severe restriction on immigration, but more investments are going to be in the American people in terms of tech startups, in terms of research and development for this country, redoing a lot of our manufacturing and redoing a lot of our infrastructure around around the country, the construction. Okay, looking out for the people. A lot of we know what's going on. A lot of these corporations like cheap labor. They like cheap labor, so they don't mind bringing in boatloads of immigrants where it leaves us out and it drives wages down. There is concrete research that's already been proven on this. The numbers are out there. And so, unfortunately, for the last 200 years, immigration has inadvertently undermined those who have been, foundational to the country, those who built the country, as well as those who had been here pre 1776. And so, this moratorium on immigration deals with that. To be honest, we want to make sure that Americans can still get a fair shake. You guys seen Skid Row? I know you guys seen how Skid Row look. That looks absolutely ridiculous. They got it in Colorado. They got it in Atlanta. Atlanta has a real bad homeless problem. Nobody deserves to be homeless. Do you really think Americans deserve to be homeless? And they give immigrants the 14K debit card Visa. Got them in hotel rooms. It was a 10,000 and 14K that they was uploading to them debit cards to give to immigrants who come to the country. And so it's been a lot going on. We see the border. We see the situation in Texas. We see people complaining about it. People are talking about the increase. You know what? I'm not trying to sit up there and paint. I don't want to paint, a bad picture on people who's trying to make a better life for themselves, because I understand that and I have compassion for that. But I mean, we only got but so much space, and we only got but so much, assets and resources. And so we have to think about a way in which we take care of the people who's been here, who are citizens. We have to think of a way to make sure that their needs are getting met, that they are getting prioritized. It's just absolutely necessary. And so we have to think about, okay, are we still investing in American tech startups? Are we investing in American people for our manufacturing? And so it's just to give people a fair shake. It's not like, okay, no immigrants can come to America. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is We're doing a moratorium on immigration. We're assessing. We're going to do a job analysis. We're going to do various analysis to assess do what can we actually allocate, in terms of the extra bodies, you know, after the American people have what they need. We have to reassess those numbers. And so we get a specific number, sitting a certain quota, we can go from there. But so it's not meant to say no to people and lock out people out of America, but it has to be something that makes sense. If it make logic, then it makes sense. And so right now, what they're doing at the border and right now, how they have our policies, it don't make sense. Not even remotely. And so that's why that is Directive 3. People will, say, no, no, no. Maybe the situation will already be dealt with and be fine by 2028, and we don't even need to use it. We can add another one. And so the next directive that we have is the rent tax credit per American household. Okay. And so this will most likely be a part of maybe that UBI step up program. This is going to be a part of the step up program, I would say, perhaps, or maybe it needs to be scrapped. Something we can talk about with the American people, but we're thinking of, subsidized rent to income ratio of up to 15%, ensuring that Americans out of pocket rent to income ratio is no more than 15% for a total of a 30% subsidy. Okay, there's a rent crisis in America, so it's some sort of subsidy that subsidizes 30% of the rent. That may be realistic or unrealistic. It could be a part of the step up program. The numbers could be changed around, but it's just something that, that can also be a 2-year thing and see how it works, but there's going to be a lot of changes in this country because people are not getting their fair shake. People are not, getting access to certain, some of us are locked out of jobs. It's a lot. And so I would say, giving that help out, even if it's in the form of pilot programs that last 2 years, I think that makes sense. So that's Directive 4. But again, we could change that around. It could get scrapped, or we can put it a part of the Head Start, the Step Up program. So the Directive 5 is investment in affordable holistic healthcare and alternative medicine. And so we want to give incentives to pharmacies and hospitals and doctors who can implement, holistic medicine. Okay, that could be TCM, Ayurveda, things that are holistic. Okay, and so this is complementary and alternative medicine. So it's not necessarily throwing away the whole conventional model just yet. It's more so adding the complementary and alternative medicine. Now, they already have a lot of this already implemented. There are a lot of private practices that have complementary and alternative medicine. Okay, and so that just means that they're practices and products that are not part of standard medical care. So like you may have acupuncture in there. You may have meditation in there. You may have homeopathy in there. You may have some I won't say Oriental, but like Chinese, a TCM, traditional Chinese medicine in there. You may have Ayurveda in there. You may have, traditional folklore, even with herbs, or herbalism, naturopathy. And so we want to get, more investment in that. Pharmacy and wellness integration. So pharmacy and wellness integration. Okay, complementary and alternative medicine. And it's just incentives to pharmacies and hospitals to enact those practices. We just see Dr. Fauci just admitted today that he made up them rules about the 6 feet distancing. What else did he say? And the social distancing and the mask. He said he just completely made it up. It was not backed by science. Look at the outcome of what has happened as a result of conventional medicine. Let's be real. Again, we shifting from 3D to 5D, 7D. So y'all could, you know, think that this is not, that's not political talk. Look, we got to get real. There was a president, the president of Madagascar, he had came up with a herbal remedy for, the pandemic. And that's what he gave to his citizens. And they had one of the lowest, uh, you know, uh, infection rates in the world. The president of Madagascar gave all of his citizens a free herbal drink. That's what we mean by complementary alternative medicine, integration with what we have. That's what we mean. Now, you guys may say, "Oh, that's too radical. Oh, that's too much." Well, look at, you don't think what's happening with these with Americans, what as far as the side effects? Y'all don't think that's too much? You don't think that's crazy? And so, yes, it is absolutely necessary to consider how to handle those things different in light of the NIH and Dr. Fauci just literally admitting that they just made up rules as they went along with it, admitting that they were wrong on a lot of things and how they handled it and the restrictions and the mandates. They are admitting that they were wrong. They are admitting that there are severe side effects. So we might as well try something new. The American people are very upset. Many people didn't go for, the medicine, and that they have family members that did, and they're affected by it still. Okay, we have family members that did, so it's not like, okay, we didn't take it. Okay, we good. People are being affected by this, and so that is a call to America to try something different. You could say no, no, no. We got to have profit. We got to make profit. We got to do. Look, we going into a new dispensation, y'all. And those that's running this system, and we know there's a lot of oligarchy, and we know that it's mainly an oligarchy, and but at the same time, there's call for change on all levels, when it comes to making sure that we move into the direction that is in line with the universe, that is in line with the will of God. Okay. And so we have the Directive 6, which is changes to the National Defense Authorization Act. So we're going to be ensuring military members will receive an 8.6 pay increase from, I got to change those dates because this was what I had wrote to our government in September 2023, that we wanted it to start in 2024 to 2035, an 8.6% pay increase. But since it's going to be 2032, it'll have to be 2032 to 2040. Oh, not 2032, the 2028 to 39. Okay. And so that's a pay increase for all branches. That's for the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and Space Force. Okay. And people may say, "Oh, that's too much," or whatever. But again, I find it disgraceful how a lot of veterans and our soldiers have been getting paid, and even the situation with our veterans. And so that's one way to give to those who service America, who give their warriorship to America, who are patriotic about America. And so obviously, I do think that pay increase needs to be there. So that's Directive 6. So these are also some policies that I want to talk about. We're going to try to wrap this up, and not cover every single little thing that you see here. But I made this on September 9th, 2023 for the current government. They actually implemented some things on this recently, literally after, like, I would say a month after I made this public, and I also tagged the White House. I was tagging, and it's funny because one of these edicts, or these initiatives, were implemented. So I thought that was interesting. And so the first, we obviously we have various categories. We have military, education, work and life balance, American innovation, sustainability, and justice. And so for each one of these categories, there's things that we would work on in various departments. We could talk about what departments these things will fit on, but it's for the American people. Because again, when you look at your passport, it says "We the people, for the people," and it has the verse about it has the verse by Abraham Lincoln that American for the we the people, or America for the people, on all the passports. Let me just make sure I got the saying correct. His verse that's on that passport. I wonder if it's on everybody's passport. Abraham quote. Let's see. Yeah, the principles of a government adheres to the American soil. Well, I guess they have different quotes on the passports. That's what it means, because this is the one where it says "for the people, by the people." And so a lot of what we see now, that's not that, it's a lot going on. We almost are about to run to becoming a banana republic, to be honest. Like, we are literally about to be a banana republic if we see the situation go bad with Trump. I don't think he's going to get jail time, but you never know how desperate they are to stop him from getting back in that White House. So we just don't know. We really just don't know. And so that's that. But here are the categories that we're going to cover and try to go quickly without being laborious. So the first one is for our military. And again, this was developed in 2023 for the current government. So you may see things that will most likely be obsolete in 2028, like cutting funding to Ukraine. But one thing that we can continue to work on is that national defense science and technology strategy to sharpen our competitive edge. One way we do that is by studying certain um, aspects of space exploration in terms of developing FTL, understanding probability distribution in terms of parallel universes. That's why we have Space Force now. Space Force was started in 2019, and it's a part of the Air Force, and it's to explore interdimensional travel, is to explore space travel, is to understand wormholes, quantum entanglement, quantum superpositioning, um, dark matter. It's designed to understand that. The idea of portal stargates, the idea of interdimensional beings itself, and whatnot. So the idea of, again, distribution, probability distribution, which is what sort of variables will create an outcome or create a certain parallel universe. That's what we need to be invested in when it comes to our national defense science and technology, in particular, when we talk about the Space Force. Another thing we need to discuss is the Galactic Intelligence Agency. So again, when we're talking about Space Force, and we're talking about ensuring adequate evolution, not only just of consciousness and residence, but also of our technology, of our knowledge on these things. And so that's one thing that the military should be working on. I talked about, again, starting perhaps a probability distribution science center or a department as a part of Space Force, or starting a Galactic Intelligence Agency itself. That will be something to also consider. The next aspect of the military is developing an Atlantic deterrence initiative that stops China's advancements into Africa. Okay, and so we want to include Africa in the network of alliances. We know that that's the next big behemoth. We know that, as me running for president, I'm pushing for our awakening. I'm pushing for our innovation and enlightenment and sustainability with the earth. I'm not, so, I think that we can team up on a lot of initiatives between America and Africa relating to those topics because, given Africa's resources, Africa's young labor, and Africa being Africa. And so we don't want to have another nation exceed or advance considerably in Africa, given its vastness. And so I do think that we need a deterrence initiative that stop China's advancements in Africa. And then we also want them as our alliances with fair business and fair deals. This is, again, I'm running for president. I'm not going to do things to harm, other nations and Africa in particular. Okay. And so that's something that we thinking about a win-win situation in foreign policy for both Africans in America. It's just foreign policy, just something to that I mean, it doesn't really fall under the military, you would say, but then it is a deterrence initiative. That means bases. That means you know perhaps even certain situation, certain settlements, and even in the air as well as the ocean, military bases. And so that's something that we would think about. Another thing is we want to consider DAO military science instructional design. So that stands for decentralized autonomous organizations. I came up with a model, instructional design model called AFES that will deal with more of a less hierarchical but fair and democratized way of governance in organizations and businesses. And so that's one thing the military wants to start thinking about, especially when it comes to the instructional design materials that disseminate even down to the education level. Okay. And so in the training level. And so that is something that I have already partially developed. I'm working on more of the I developed an instructional design. Matter of fact, I'll show you just a little bit right here. Here we go. Right here is the AFES diagram. So this is an instructional design model that is based on blockchain of how a DAO flow network could look like. This is more so in an educational sense in terms of universities and colleges, but this can be used as a guide to train in terms of military instructional design as well. Okay. And so we're thinking you can even actually build a whole virtual aspect of this and even in the physical world. So that's what I like about this model. And we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of what it of all of that right now, but that's something that I think we should consider to keep us advanced with understanding not only cyber warfare but AI with blockchain ledger technology in terms of how, the immutable records in different fields in different industries, whether that be a school, whether that be again different aspects of the military itself, whether that be cyber warfare, homeland security. Those are things that we should absolutely consider. And so decentralized autonomous organizations is something that the American people are all talking about as far as how do you democratize and personalize our experiences in the workplace, our experiences in school, and learning, and training, and battle, and finance. And so people are considering more community-based aspects of coming together and learning, or organizing the actual structure. So this is a model for structure on how we would do that. And so another thing is to increase aid and strategies in a specific deterrence initiative as well. And so that's for a military policy. The next one is education. And so one thing I think that needs to be like an executive order in the education system, as far as public schools, is to emphasize like emotional health check-ins for the students, that are optional. That could be done at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. But just an app, a daily check-in app that they can check Rather, like say every classroom, say if it's, they're too young for the cell phones, there'll be like a station in the classroom that has computers where, say, the students come in the morning, if they want to, they can go and do an emotional check-in, um, go through a series of questions, and then get a modality based on their actual feelings. So that could be maybe a breathing session, that may be a brief meditation, that could be a coloring session. It could, just to reduce the stress, or maybe they already happy and they don't need to do an activity. Maybe they are feeling really sad and they want to actually talk to someone. And so I do think, say for like maybe, maybe kindergarten through maybe eighth grade, 'cause, kids don't maybe have cell phone, maybe too young for a cell phone. And so we want to implement like emotional health check-ins with those modalities, you know, in the education system. But also we want to do perhaps uh, an app as well that the students that are older and say in high school can download on their phone and do those emotional health check-ins. And again, some of the modalities, it may be a Kriya. It may be, say, you may want to pick action, or you may want to do like a physical action or emotional action or a mental action. So that could be even a brain game that gets offered. If you pick physical action, that may mean a breathing session or a meditation or a actual pose, an actual posture pose, a stretch or something, you know. And it's right there on the spot. It could be done within, I would say a minute. Give the students some time before, while they're doing breakfast or at the end of the day, or they can, if they got the app on the phone, they can do it whenever, you know. And so that's something we want to do for these our students, our American babies growing up. That's something we want to do in the public education system, uh countrywide, right? And it will be something that's optional. You ain't gotta be forced to do it. But if you think the idea of maybe a brain activity, certain brain games are really fun, right? We could really do some good gamification. We can really do some good gamification with the brain game. If they pick the mental part, if they pick emotional part, we can meet. You know how they have the apps, the like they have coloring book apps. We can maybe offer like a coloring, and they can, or on the computer they can color to relieve their stress if that's what's recommended. Um, it may be a breathing exercise, deep breaths, pranayama, breathing in and out, counting. Maybe a head rower, whatever, a body lock, But that's something that we really want to do as far as like these daily emotional health wellness or emotional check-in, whatever it is. But that's something that we want to think about. Another thing for education is that we want to implement a program for the high schools, uh, the high school level, called Research and Development of Sustainable Inventions. Okay, research and development of sustainable inventions in the public education system. So we are quite behind in our technology. Okay, and so what this innovation will do is it will catch us up. We're talking about high schoolers studying this course, research and development and sustainable invention. So that it means priming them for critical thinking, priming them for creativity. Okay, we're priming them, and they are inventing literally in high school. And maybe they've applied for a patent. Maybe they go on to invent a whole product around a company and build a company. And we have the next new innovation that is sustainable. Okay, and so we're talking about protecting the earth, and we're talking about creativity. And we should be offering at the high school levels. The next thing we want to emphasize for our education is more emphasis on coding and robotics at the junior high level. Okay, and so at the junior level, these students should already know AI programming, Python, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. They should know one of those. Maybe, if that's really their interest, because it'll be offered, okay, at the junior high level. And then at the high school level, they'll be focused more so on the ethics and bias prevention in artificial intelligence, the actual policies around it, be a little more advanced. Because at that point, you got to figure, we just seen I think it was a 17-year-old just graduate with a PhD. So we seen a 10-year-old graduate from college. So we know that students can do this. Like we know that, our students can learn computer programming at a very young age, that they can build robots at a very young age. And so that's why by the time they get to high school, they already know the code. They already know how to build an algorithm. They already know how to build a robot. So then they just need to have the knowledge on policies around learning actual laws and the ethics around the benevolent artificial intelligence. Why? Because they're most likely going to be building in that area, whether that be working for another company or building a product or a company of their own. They already know how to do it. They already know what laws to look up. They already know where to go to get funding, venture capital. They already know. That's what will be taught in high school. So instead of having to go to college to learn how to find venture capitalists and how to take a business course so you could know how to do a P&L statement, a balance statement. No, you learn that in high school. I'm telling you, because college is going to become obsolete. Did y'all see the governors are starting an initiative that they want to push on a federal level for skill-based hiring over degree hiring. So the degrees are not going to mean anything. It is at least 20 states involved in this, and they are working on an executive order for this at the federal level. Okay, so we can't say, that we can't really go on about that. I got distracted. But it's really something. It's really something to think about, like, because again, the college stuff. A lot of people got in a lot of student debt. A lot of us are underemployed. A lot of us are not even using those degrees. And I'm not knocking college. I have plenty of degrees. But so I'm not saying don't go. But if they are doing a federal level initiative for skill-based hiring, like changing our labor laws around that. I mean, come on, don't you think it's important? Don't you think it's important to start our kids a little younger in high school, as far as learning this AI, as far as learning, programming, data analytics, machine learning, deep learning. It needs to start earlier. Of course it do. And so that way, by the time they're 18, they already got a big grasp on how to start a whole company, or how to go they have the skills, because we're talking about skill base. They would literally have the skills to just go into the workforce without even having to go to college. If we start this initiative in junior high and in high school, we start the teaching the coding and the robotics, the data analytics, the machine learning. We teach that at the junior high level. And then at the high school level, that's when they learn more of the business aspect of it, how to do a balance statement, how to do projections, what, competitive advantages, what revenue, all those things. We would talk about the ethics of the AI or the other new technology, the laws around it, global laws about it. They should be able to know the any sort of zoning permits, or all the venture capitalists that are in their field. They learn that in high school. So right when they turn 18, they're able to go right into the workforce. Because I am telling you, I covered this on this YouTube channel. They are going to skill-based hiring at the state and federal level, because they said that the degrees are, they don't care about the degrees. And they right now, it's a lot of immigrants in the country and they're not going to school. And I'm not saying that to disparage them at all. Like, I'm literally saying, like, that this skill-based initiative that's being pushed by them 20 states are more so to bring them in, is what I'm saying. Is to bring them into the fold, because they don't have degrees, but they have the skill. The immigrants have skill. So that's literally what it's for. Yeah, it's going skill-based. And so I think we should address that at the high school level. The next thing is less restrictions around homeschooling children. So again, people have been getting arrested for homeschooling their children. Now, again, we just talk about like certain kids, they 10 years old graduating college, 17-year-olds with PhDs, kids that skip grades, kids that are really creative, have high IQs. They all have been homeschooled. Like literally the 17-year-old girl that just got the PhD, she was homeschooled. Okay. And so we want, and I know that y'all may feel that this is against what the powers that be want, and whatever. They want, you may say like that they don't want an intelligent American people. They don't want all of that, but that's not what matters. That's not what matters as we go into a higher frequency. Okay, and so we want people to be intelligent. And I'm not saying that the current public education system doesn't even, does not do that, because I was never homeschooled, and a lot of people was never homeschooled, and they're very intelligent. And so we can't, you know, make that type of claim. But I find it odd that disproportionately the students that like be skipping all out of the grades, that finish early, they do tend to be homeschooled. And so we want less restrictions around homeschool. Okay. And so that's what it will be. The next thing is integrate like the concept of or rather innovate the concepts of college, in the university, in the context of decentralized autonomous organizations in the age of MOOCs, which are massive open online courses. Okay, and so it's going to be a lot of repackaging around the education system itself, because the degrees are becoming obsolete. They're going back to skill based, and because again, there are more MOOCs that are relevant. There's decentralized autonomous organizations that require more community-based, not community-based, not hierarchical structure, but community-based structures, democratized structures that emphasize personalized learning, AI driven data. You know, so that's another thing that we really, really want to work on. How do we save students money in terms of the tuition? Now, I know people really don't think about those things, but let's be real. If it's going to be major changes, once they push these skill-based initiatives through, it's going to be major changes. And so that's something that I was thinking about. And again, right here, I talk about like the DAOs. It's a new model of education. In addition to like building the instructional design models around it, like we're talking about actually building how this will look like online, how this could look like in person, how this can look like as AI in terms of software or programs that run the background, the background engine, or like the LMS version of that, in terms of creating the personalized content, picking out certain modules for the student, putting them in certain DAO learning hubs based on their interest, based on their learning style, their learning preference, their their age. And how do you incentivize that with tokens? If it is, a DAO that's online with blockchain, how would you incentivize teachers or even students to become teachers? Peer-to-peer learning, we have peer-to-peer learning. Those are all things that I am thinking about, and I have built instructional design model around DAOs. And right now I'm working on the technological aspects of that, of how that will look like as AI, to have AI literally create the course, the instructional design itself, select the modules, be even a tutor, a learning facilitator, those type of things. That's something that's very serious to me. And so that's what I was thinking of. Something that we can think of as a country in terms of our education the Department of Education. Some things I would like to see. And so the next one is American work and life balance, or better known as like careers and jobs. And so we're thinking of cutting the work week for the American people, okay, to 25 to 35 hours a week, like on a federal level, but with the same pay. It has to be the same pay. And so this is about making sure that the work to life balance and family life, works for the American people. They have to spend more time raising their kids, spend more time being with family, spend more time being alone. And so I know people may think these corporations can make this change and still be profitable. We are going into the age of enlightenment, the age of Aquarius. And so it is absolutely important that we take care of our people. We have to take care of our people. So 25 to 35-hour work weeks to start, in addition to our pilot program, the Step Up program. And so another one is a lower income tax that will increase disposable income and encourage consumer spending. Okay. So that's another one. Another thing we want to talk about is union protection and how we manage trade unions. Another one we want to consider is how we create more flexibility to hire, including those with records. As far as work and life balance, when we talk about like changes with the FCC in terms of the programming and the propaganda that we even allow in commercials regarding families and emphasizing fathers and emphasizing, um, families that are together. Another thing for work and life balance is we want to talk about maternal rights and protection for mothers, increasing paid leave for women so that they can dedicate more time to motherhood. Okay. And so we want our maternal rights to be worked on. Right now, a lot of people complain about, that maternal leave. And so it's something that I was thinking about. Another thing we want to talk about is the switch of workforce management to, once again, decentralized autonomous organizations. Okay, so this is an organization that is owned and managed by its own members. Okay, it's democratized, it's decentralized, it's not hierarchical. And so the decision making process is handled by proposals and voting, which ensures that everyone gets a say into what the organization is going to embark on. There's no central authority. Okay, and then you would have the organization's data recorded on a blockchain, and then its day-to-day operations are handled by like certain rules that apply to all the members, which is in ledger technology called a smart contract. We can rename that because we're not going to be doing, we'll be doing smart agreements. Therefore, everyone and no one owns the DAO at the same time. Okay. So it's very similar to blockchain technology. Yeah. And so those are things we are thinking about for work and life balance. The next thing that we are thinking about is the American innovation. Okay. We need to actually, after I published this September 9th, 2023. A couple months after I published this, Biden actually already implemented this artificial intelligence department. I think he passed the executive on that AI, but we do want to. I don't think he created a governmental department for it yet, but we do want a department for artificial intelligence. So it's just going to be a regulatory body that monitors and develops and sustain. Okay, and I'm thinking of a research and development component right there as well. And so we're going to be looking at research expenditures for a competitive edge across the globe, So research and development expensing bills combined with sustainability. And the next thing is infrastructure updates and investments. So obviously, a lot of the roads and bridges, they need to be they need to be innovated. They need to be renovated rather. And so we want to get on that as well. Next one, we have a sustainability. And the first one is reduce the subsidies available for fossil fuels, which are not renewable, and apply them to renewable energy sources like wind, solar, or tidal power. Okay, that's just one. And then the next one we have is protect and replenish natural capital. Another thing we have for sustainability is increasing the grants from the USDA's Environmental Quality Incentives Program for organic farming by huge amounts. So we really want to help our farmers, and we really want to help organic farming. Okay. And I would say we also want to have a program. This is going to be a federal executive order, a program called Seeds of Gold, because we want to plant trees in their respective growing environment, in terms of like fruit trees, where people could, in the public, that are publicly accessible by the American people. Or we want to do more with community gardening, but we want to plant trees all throughout America, fruit trees. You know, if you're in the South, you know, certain fruits grow in certain states and certain seasons. So obviously we want peach trees all throughout Georgia. We're talking about you go right outside and you go and get you a peach off the tree. You know, orange tree, lemon trees. We want to actually have an executive order where we are planting fruit trees where people can go right outside and get them some food. I'm telling you, we shaking it up. We are shaking it up in this country. It is what it is, because we're going to a higher vibration. Okay. And so we're, you know, fig trees, lemon trees, okay, moringa trees, like, and public spaces where you can walk right outside and pick you something off of that tree, an apple tree. New York grows good apples. Imagine we have bringing them apple trees back. You go right downtown and there's some apple trees. You can pick it right off of the tree. Orange trees. This is an initiative, a public initiative. And it's going to be trees all over the country that people can just go right up and get them a fruit. Again, people may say, well, where's the profit in that? How do corporations benefit? We'll work it out. We'll figure it out. It could be some type of philanthropy that you can do a tax write-off on. It could be something where you can probably invest in terms of, you know, maybe, you know, in terms of the trees itself, the fruits. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we want, that's something that's important for America as we're going into the age of Aquarius, into the age of the divine feminine, is to have these different fruit trees right publicly available. You go to Delaware Park, get some apple trees. You go right to the state park, go to Niagara Falls, you see some apple trees or something right there. And that's what we want. You know, we'll have some regulations around it, you know. Can't just be go. You could pick the tree. You know, be fair. You know, make sure you leave the apples for other people. Now, can't be a whole store that try to go and hit up all the fruit trees, because it's free. The fruit gonna be free, and they go so they can go and sell it, or the people go and take all the fruit. No. You take what you need and take what you can carry. And that's it. No big trucks pulling up to take all the apples off of the trees, all of the oranges off the trees, so they can go and sell them in their stores and nothing like that. No, come on. It's for the American people when they're walking around out in the public, when they're going to the park, where they will be able to have access to free fruits, or moringa, or walnut trees. Right? Remember walnuts? Remember almonds? Well, I think almonds have like cyanide in it or something like that, right? So maybe not almonds, but walnut tree, all types of trees. So that's important to me. Another thing is the government incentives for sustainable business practice. Okay, so we're thinking about the business energy investment tax credit, increasing that, and then small business innovation grants and green jobs initiative. Okay, Another thing is we want to increase the green community grants to build whole intentional communities, especially for marginalized communities. Okay, so you know how you have intentional communities all over the country. And so we want to be building this, it'd be a small, maybe a pilot program or a certain initiative for a certain amount of time. And we increase green community grants for, say, maybe a co-op or a group of people that want to start it. They can build their own whole intentional community. We can even do this even down to the HUD level. So HUD housing projects can also be switched to intentional communities, and that could be something for investors to look at, and certain corporations to look at in terms of investing in, and in terms of getting into that real estate idea of the intentional community building, in terms of um, how that looks in terms of the shops that are there, the services that are there, maybe a store or two that are there, maybe a medical practice that is there. It's an intentional community. So that could be something that we could think about, okay, in terms of renovating housing projects, HUD services itself, um, investment. How do we build, these, these HUD housing intentional communities while still, you know, getting them involved in the community, getting them involved in the community in terms of working. This could be, again, a medical field, private practice there, a grocery store, all those things. It's something to think about. That could be scrapped. It's not something that I'm just like hell bent on. It's just something I was thinking about. And then the last thing is, again, for justice, we're looking at a hate crime bill, specifically to protect Black Americans, in lieu of, again, there were a couple of things that happened just within the last 5 years alone. We had the Buffalo shooting. It was a massacre. Then we know the Charleston church massacre, 9 people died there. And then there were a shooting of 3 Black people at the Dollar General in Florida. And obviously the disparities and stop and frisk and all those things, and police brutality. And so that hate crime bill will deal with that. It'll be something that's nice. We may have that, though, before 2028. We can probably get that in 2024, to be honest, maybe up into 2028. So we may not even, by the time we get to 2028, it may already be implemented, maybe not. But if not, that's something to think about. And so, again, that's some of the things we are looking into. And another thing, now we really about to go deep. Bear with me. Is we want to make some changes, some significant changes around our terrorist screening database for Americans. Okay. And so this was a court case that was won in favor of how it's called, I think it's, yes, Kabah, director of the Terror Screening Center, versus Ahmed, I believe. Forgot his name, but obviously this was them. This happened in 2021. And it was a court case about how they were throwing, pretty much anybody on that terrorist screening database, including Americans who didn't deserve to be on there. And it's a lot more intricate. We don't need to really get into that. But we want to really work on that, because there are a lot of Americans complaining. Of feeling, targeted, or there's a lot of Americans feeling like they're unjustly being surveillance. There's mass surveillance, that there's invasions of privacy, that there potentially abuse of power in terms of stalking and all types of things relating to these database watch list. neighborhood watch list, regional information and sharing systems. So this is called risk ATICS. So it provides secure internet interagency communications and information sharing resources. And so it allows law enforcement, public sectors, and appropriate private entities to easily and quickly access homeland security, terrorist disaster recovery, critical infrastructure, and other types of data. And so they're able also to track like the whereabouts of those who that are on that list pretty easily to implement, you know, orchestrated events relating to tracking them and surveillancing them. So what's happening is that the this whole thing went rogue. It started under well, I don't want to say that it started under Bush and 9/11. I do know actually it started more so with COINTELPRO. However, it morphed into something different in terms of the Patriot Act. Then it got expanded under Obama and Biden. And so it's a pretty much a list where if you're on it, you know, you'll be, you know, heavily surveillanced illegally. Sometimes even, you know, it was just random people that would put on it. And they were using, you know, this risk program that was supposed to be like to monitor like weapons and gang members and whatnot, but they're using this on innocent Americans. And so we do want the Bureau of Justice Assistance and the U.S. Department of Justice to do a review on this regional information sharing system in terms of who's on it, why are they on it, is it legal, is it illegal, who put it, you know, who's orchestrating this, who's the handlers, who's, you know, the different people involved and whatnot, because there are a lot of people complaining about their rights being violated. We know that Ted Gunderson, who is the chief of the FBI, he also created an affidavit on how this program has actually went rogue and how it's been used to implement like a no-touch psychological torture program, or like a psychological it could be mind control program and whatnot. But Ted Gunderson who was again the chief of the FBI, who was now dead, um, talked about how this program did exist. He explained how its methods. He explained how they selected people, how it was multiple intelligence agencies involved in this, including the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA, and military intelligence. It includes how the victims will come forward, what kind of things will take place, whether that be noise campaigns, and whatnot. You know, uh, the locking of bank accounts. They can't get a job, all types of stuff. All of these things is what this intelligence agent, well, FBI agent, the chief actually, Ted Gunderson, this is what he talked about. And so it's something worth looking into in terms of how this list is created, how it's shared. Is it shared with illegally with people on like the dark net? You know, we want to look into it because there's a lot of people coming forward. We also want to start our own database for individuals that feel they're dealing with this, so that they can report, and so we can develop a report on what that looks like with evidence in terms of those who have been dealing unfairly with this risk ethics, with say fusion centers, as well as domestic surveillance, um, that people that you know that occurs in this country. It's been enough people that have talked about it to where it's something that'll be looked into, and that's something that I, as the president, will want to do. And people would say that is very risky. It's a secret domestic surveillance program. it's ran by a secret society, whatever it is. We'll get down to the bottom of it. And an investigation is already being underway. It will be ideal if Trump dealt with this, like if he looked into this, because he's a victim of this himself, just like I am. And so um, it would be best if, Trump could maybe even consider looking at this as well for 2020, during his election, 2024 to 2028, or even Biden, if Biden wins. But at the same time, um, you know, Biden, he's expanded this type of program. We're talking about community oriented policing. All these things have been used as a form of abuse to take revenge for hire or for contract out on a person that they don't like, a person that the government may not like, or a certain secret society may not like, or it's been abused. It's been abused, and so obviously, even it's being talked about. So it says right here, the federal government will have to produce information on a vast and secret domestic surveillance program and defend the program legality in open court. This is a part of the suspicious activity reporting program, where they said, well, say you have a community watch group or a neighborhood watch group that will abuse it based on, or they're scorned or they're jealous of someone. They put them on a list, and then they all work together to sabotage that person, or to stalk that person, harass that person. It could be done even um, on an organization level, where they'll do it with your bank accounts, your place of employment. They'll put you on the list on a place of employment. It's a lot of Americans coming forward about this, and there is a lot of rogue corruption with it. Anybody can be put on this list. There is a no-touch psychological warfare program that the government is denying, but will eventually have to own up to. It's so many people talking about it, you will not be able to deny it anymore. There are people talking about that they deal with directed energy, frequency weapons, all types of things, and so we need to look into that. And so I will personally look into that. I'm personally going to look into that, because I know that I have even been the victim of this, being put on a list very unfairly, and having aspects of my life completely destroyed or completely manipulated, gaslighted, um, and it's been on an intelligence level, on a governmental level, and it's been completely unfair. And so I'm not the only American that's going through this. It's thousands of Americans going through this. They feel targeted, whether that be at their workplace, they'll be targeted within their neighborhood watch groups, even certain churches, organizations, and they will be made to feel, in a way, extra surveillance that is illegally, that is legally unconstitutional. And so we want to definitely look into this, and that would be the last thing that that would be the last thing that I would be focused on in that in my policies. More can be added, things can be changed, things can be taken off, but it's something that I want to talk about. You know what I mean? It's definitely something that I want to address. Yep. And so these are the directives and the edicts, or the directives and policies rather, that I want to work on when I run for president in 2028. That has to get pushed to 2032, so be it. It's not a big deal, because I want to make sure that we do this right as we shift the dimensionality of this planet and of America. Again, it's a golden age for America. A golden age. Yep. And I don't feel like we've gotten paid it. I don't feel like the American people have gotten like paid attention to. It's just been a lot. Like, we talk a lot about things. We know what's been going on with the two-party system, and the and even the shadow side of that. And so I do think that it's time for us to go into a new dispensation. I think it's time for us to shift to shift the frequency of America for the better. That's why we're calling it the golden age of America. That's why we're doing that. Yep. And so that's all I got to say. I think I might come back on here and cover another topic, but um, if not, I'll probably do some more follow up and work this stuff out. But this is just something that I'm thinking about. You know, it was really on my mind, so I'm just like I really want to talk about it today. It's on my mind, and so I'm going to develop this and work on it and do my research and due diligence to see how this stuff even like how it all works and putting it all together. I got to do my own research on that. But yep. You guys have a great day. I'm gonna talk to you later. Bye.